There are those that just want to be left alone, and those that just won't leave them alone. Which one are you? The Ernest Hancock Show.
Welcome back to Declare Your Independence. With me, Ernest Hancock, here from Phoenix, Arizona, in the beautiful studios of Freedoms with an S, freedomsphoenix.com. Now, I got to remind everybody, the Freedom Summit, freedomsummit.com, it is going to be a really big show. We always have a great time here. And first weekend in December, it's very nice. It's a very nice here. And we're talking to Mark Hinkle. He's chairman of the National Libertarian Party. And, Mark, you live in Southern California, don't you?
Actually, Northern California, and just outside of Silicon Valley, since most people know where that is.
Okay, yeah, it's nice weather over there, I imagine, and get a little cold maybe. But I want to kind of get an idea of what it is that you see is coming in this next congressional session, because we've had a big change. There's a lot of I don't know, Republicans promise in America that they're going to enforce sanctions in Iran, that we're going to have a missile defense, that we're going to have more spending on defense, that we're going to, I'm going, man, that's a win. What are you looking to happen, and what role is the Libertarian Party going to play as we get into this next congressional session starting in January?
Well, as always, we're going to be the watchdogs. Right now, the Republicans are talking a pretty good game. John Boehner saying he's going to hold firm. We've heard this pitch, unfortunately, before from the likes of Newt Gingrich and the Contract for America. We will see. We're obviously skeptical, and we're definitely going to be looking over their shoulder to make sure that they do roll back the pork barrel projects, the earmarks. We want to make sure that they stay true to the word and say they're going to end those.
Well, you're in California. California is, as I've heard, the sixth largest economy in the world, but per capita, Arizona has a bigger state debt than California. We're Arizona in big heap trouble. And I'm wondering how California is going to be dealing with this, just to the tune of gazillions of dollars for pension funds of municipal employees and police officers and judges and teachers. It's really getting scary. If anybody would look at the math, how do the people feel about it? Do they even know?
Well, unfortunately, California voters haven't gotten the message yet. There's a joke floating around the internet. Do you know what the difference is between the people who are on the Titanic and people who are voters in California? And the answer is people on the Titanic didn't vote to hit the iceberg. Fortunately, the voters in California have voted to hit the iceberg. It's a real tragedy. Right after the election, the California legislature announced they've got another $6 billion deficit. Anybody who's paying attention knew that was coming. Clearly in California, and this has been going on before Arnold Schwarzenegger, it was during Gray Davis's administration, they have a serious spending problem. They just don't know how to say no. And our revenues are actually up higher than inflation and population growth combined, and yet spending, of course, has just gone through the roof. And that's why we've got the pension problems. That's why we've got, cuts back in education, which, by the way, California teachers are the highest paid teachers in the United States. So don't believe all the hype you hear about, poor, lowly California teachers.
It seems to me that it's like it's a feeding frenzy. They know it's over. They're just getting as much as they can while they can, and they have the political, I guess, infrastructure to do it. It's really simple. They go, how do they do this? How can they do that? They're deficit spending this. They're taking away our rights. They're taxing even more. They're doing yada yada yada. I'm going, it's real simple. I'll tell you why. It's because they can, and they'll do it as long as they can until they can't. And I'm wondering, what is it that they're building up to? When can't they? Is it going to be they're looking for a federal government bailout? I mean, how are they continuing to fund this spending? I I don't even know. Tell me, do you know how they're trying to rationalize this in California, or they're just going until the ship's resting on the bottom?
I think they're in a feeding frenzy in the kitchen of the Titanic, and they just either don't or won't pay attention to the economic reality. I've heard something like 1.5 million people have left California over the last few years. We know manufacturing has been driven out of California because of not only business taxes and business regulations, but also the high cost of doing business here, largely because of high taxation and regulation. One of the things I pointed out, I, as you know, ran for a special election in the 15th State Senate District this last summer to replace Evo Maldonado, who got bumped up to lieutenant governor. And on the campaign trail, I'd hear Republicans, Democrats alike saying, "Oh, we need big business to pay their fair share." And I keep pointing out to people that businesses don't pay taxes. They just collect it from the consumer and pass it on to the government, because every cost of doing business gets passed on to the consumer. So this wishful thinking that big business is going to pay their fair share is just a myth, obviously perpetuated by Republicans, Democrats, because they don't want people to know the real cost of doing business in California. But businesses know, and that's why they're leaving in droves, going to places like Arizona, Nevada, Oregon, and, of course, overseas. And that's just going to perpetuate the job losses. The official unemployment rate is over 12%. We all know there are literally tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of Californians who are underemployed or who are even no longer counted in the unemployment rolls simply because they've run out of unemployment benefits and they don't count anymore, which seems like a very strange statistics, but them's the facts. And there's nothing the California legislature is doing to stop that. As you're probably aware, the biggest, more powerful union representatives are the teachers union and the prison guard union, and they spend a gargantuan amount of money up in Sacramento to get their way. And so they're just going to keep feeding on the carcass until the bones are picked clean.
Then what? We're into then what? A lot of the, I'd say, libertarian-oriented individuals, the voluntarists, the anarchists, the leave-me-aloneists, whatever you want to call them, they are taking, this younger generation taking it seriously. I mean, you got, the first things that young people are doing, okay, let's see, how much food do I got underneath my bed? Being nice to my grandma. I got firearms. I'm, where's the farm? And I mean, they're really starting to think about camping. I mean, just surviving this thing. Can we survive? Can we just keep going, breathing in and out? Where are you at on this? What are you preparing for?
Well, kind of as best I can, preparing for the worst. I am armed, and I do have ammunition to protect my family and my property. The price of gold, as you well know, continues to creep up, and that's a very good indicator that the dollar is, shall we say, worth less each and every day. And we all know that right around the corner, hyperinflation is got to be there. There's no way that the Fed can print basically money out of thin air and not have it wind up being inflation. Unfortunately, Obama and his administration seems to be running on the FDR playbook, and as we know, that led to basically 15 years of massive depression, 20 and 30% unemployment, and unfortunately, the people still want to have the government do something, and that's the problem. That people, by their own resources, will pull us out of this recession/depression. But if the government gets involved, Katie bar the door, they're going to thwart any recovery, left, right, and center, any way they can. And not necessarily because by design, but just out of sheer incompetency, because as we all know, centrally planned economies don't work.
Well, I'm hoping that the Libertarian Party can provide some guidance. And I'm not really sure what would be the best, other than just advocating for freedom and providing Liberty Nexus is probably the best thing that the Libertarian Party has done in my experience over the last 20 years of my personal experience has just been a nexus where people come together, find people of like mind, and go take care of business. And Mark Hinkle is one of those helping take care of business on Declare Your Independence with me, Ernest Hancock, and go to lp.org. lp.org for more information on the Libertarian Party. Hey, Mark, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate you spending time with me.
Any old time, you're a champ. I appreciate the support.
Thanks. We'll be right back for a special segment here on TSA.